You're sitting there, staring at your phone again, wondering if she's thinking about you, wondering if she even misses you at all. You replay the moments, the laughter, the texts, and then the silence. It's almost like she disappeared overnight, leaving you with one haunting question. Will she ever come back? If this is you, if you've been holding on to that tiny bit of hope, checking her socials, trying to convince yourself she'll realize what she lost, I get it, because right now it feels like you're losing a battle you can't control. Maybe this feels familiar. You wake up and she's the first thought that hits you. You go through your day pretending you're fine, but deep down everything reminds you of her, the way she smiled, the way she used to call you for no reason, the way she made you feel like you mattered, but then she pulled away. And you've been left trying to make sense of it. You start asking yourself questions you never thought you would. Did I do something wrong? Priburs, wasn't I enough? Pribur, why did she change so fast? To be chime, your phone buzzes, your heart jumps, hoping it's her, and hating yourself when it's not. You tell yourself, if I could just explain, if I could just reach out one more time, maybe she'd remember what we had. But something in you also knows that chasing her right now would only push her further away, because the truth is she doesn't come back when you're waiting. She doesn't come back when you're desperate. She comes back when something inside you changes, when you stop needing her to feel whole again. But here's the cold reality most men never understand: what actually has to happen for her to feel that loss, for her to start missing you in ways she can't ignore. That's what we're going to uncover today. Most men get this part wrong. They think if they wait long enough, text at the right time, or say the perfect words, she'll suddenly wake up and realize what she lost. But that's not how attraction or human nature actually works. When a woman pulls away, most guys panic. They chase, they over-explain. They think love means convincing someone to stay. But what you don't realize in that moment is every time you chase her, every time you try to prove your worth, you're silently telling her that you don't believe you have any. See, a woman doesn't come back to the man who needs her. She comes back to the man who doesn't flinch when she leaves, the one who stays calm, grounded, and unbothered, because his sense of peace doesn't depend on her presence. That's the core masculine principle most men overlook. Self-trust, the quiet confidence of knowing that you can stand alone and still be whole. When she left, you felt that emptiness, didn't you? The silence, the questions, the ache in your chest, and that pain tricked you into believing you had to fix it by bringing her back. But the truth is that pain wasn't a punishment. It was an invitation. A moment life gives you to rebuild yourself without her, to find the version of you that existed before you started doubting your value. Because here's what she won't tell you. She feels it when you stop chasing, when your energy shifts from fear to certainty. When your silence isn't about manipulation, it's about peace. That's when she starts to wonder. That's when she starts to remember. You don't win her back by convincing her. You don't get her attention by begging for it. You draw her back when you stop trying to, when you turn your focus inward, when you become the man who doesn't need her but could still choose her. That's the cold reality. She'll only come back when she feels that you no longer need her to, because that's when she finally sees what she walked away from. A man who found his strength in the silence she left behind. He sits alone in his car, engine off, parked outside the cafe where they used to go every Sunday. The same place she laughed too loud, stole sips of his coffee, and played with his hand without realizing it. Now the chair she once sat in is empty, and the air feels heavier than it should. Outside, people move on with their lives, but inside that car, time hasn't moved at all. He tells himself he's fine. He even smiles for a second, a hollow smile that disappears as quickly as it came. He scrolls through old photos on his phone, each one cutting a little deeper. There's a voice in his head whispering, maybe she's with someone else, maybe she's already forgotten. Another voice tries to fight back, no, she'll come around, she has to. But deep down he knows. She's not coming back to this version of him, the man sitting here waiting, hoping, begging silently for a second chance. This isn't who she fell for. He closes his eyes and the silence rushes in. It's almost deafening, the kind that makes your heartbeat sound louder than your thoughts. He starts to remember the moments before it all slipped away, the tension, the distance, the way her eyes stopped lighting up when she saw him. Back then he thought love meant doing more, calling more, trying harder. But all that effort only made her pull further away. She wasn't leaving because he wasn't doing enough. She was leaving because he'd stopped being himself. He didn't see it then, but she had already begun to lose respect. Not because he failed her, but because he started needing her to feel complete. And that's when she emotionally checked out. Weeks pass. He doesn't text her, not out of strategy, but because something inside him finally breaks. And from that break, something stronger begins to grow. He starts going to the gym again, starts eating real meals instead of skipping dinner. He sleeps through the night for the first time in weeks. There's still pain. It doesn't vanish overnight, but it's quieter now, controlled, and in its place, there's a strange calm he's never felt before. One morning, he wakes up and realizes she didn't cross his mind until now, not because he stopped caring, but because he started remembering who he was before he lost himself in her. And that's when something shifts. His silence is no longer desperate. It's peaceful. His stillness isn't waiting. It's rebuilding. The same silence that once scared her now radiates a strength she can feel even miles away and somewhere out there, maybe scrolling through her feed, maybe lying awake at night. She feels it, that change, the energy she once took for granted, the calm she used to test but could never shake. She doesn't know why, but she thinks about him again, the man who no longer chases, who no longer needs, the man she suddenly can't stop missing because she'll only come back when that happens. When he stops needing her and starts becoming the man he was meant to be all along, the man who doesn't wait to be chosen, because he's already chosen himself. There are two beliefs that keep most men trapped after a breakup, and until you break them, she's never coming back. And even if she did, you wouldn't be ready for her. The first false belief is this: if I show her how much I care, she'll remember what we had. That's what most men do after they lose her. They start texting more, calling more, trying to prove their love, as if the relationship can be saved by effort alone. But that's not love. That's fear wearing love's mask. It's fear of being forgotten, fear of being replaced, fear that maybe you weren't enough. You think you're showing love, but what she feels is pressure. What she sees is a man who's lost control of his own value. The truth? You don't win her back by making her see your worth. You win by remembering it yourself. When a man chases, he's not chasing her. He's running from his own emptiness, and until you stop running, she won't feel the space to miss you, because she can't miss a man who's still standing in front of her, begging her to come back. She didn't ghost you. You disappeared from yourself. And that's the moment everything began to fall apart. The second belief is this: she'll come back if I wait long enough. Alright, so you hold on. You stay quiet, but not in peace, in pain. You're not living, you're just waiting. You tell yourself you're doing no contact, but it's not strength, it's punishment. You're still hoping she'll text, still checking her story, still comparing your life to hers. That's not detachment. That's quiet obsession. The truth is, she doesn't come back when you wait. She comes back when you evolve, when your silence stops being a strategy and becomes self-respect, when you stop performing strength and start embodying it. When you begin to live again, not to prove a point, but because you finally see your life as something bigger than her absence, that's when everything shifts. Because women feel energy. They don't return to neediness, they return to power. They come back to the man who stopped chasing, stopped pleasing, and started leading himself again. Most men think no contact is about making her miss you. It's not. It's about reconnecting with the man she used to admire before he forgot who he was trying to keep her. So stop thinking time will fix it. Stop thinking words will convince her. She won't come back because you waited. She'll come back because you changed. She won't return to who you were when she left. She'll only return to who you become after she's gone. That's the cold reality. You can't rebuild attraction from the same weakness that destroyed it. You rebuild it by walking back into your own strength. Quietly, consistently, and without apology. And once you do, something powerful happens. You stop caring whether she comes back at all. And that's exactly when she starts to... The 3% man doesn't do more. He simply understands more. He understands that love isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by who you become. When most men panic after a breakup, the 3% man gets quiet. Not because he's playing games, but because he's grounded. He knows that trying to convince her, fix her feelings, or prove his worth would only show he's lost his center. This is what he understands. A woman can only feel safe loving a man who's safe within himself. When you're begging for reassurance, when your mood depends on her attention, she feels it, and it drains the attraction. The 3% man never trades his peace for someone else's approval. He leads with calm, not chaos, with presence, not pressure. He knows silence isn't a strategy, it's a reflection of inner strength. While most men use no contact to manipulate, he uses it to reset. He's not sitting by the phone hoping she'll miss him. He's out building a life that naturally makes her wonder why she ever left. He doesn't do this for her. He does it because he refuses to let heartbreak define his worth. When the 3% man wakes up, he doesn't scroll through her feed. He doesn't check who she's with. He checks himself. Am I moving forward? Am I proud of how I handled this? Am I still living like a man of purpose? He doesn't ask, when will she come back? He asks, Who am I becoming while she's gone? And that's the difference. While the average man lives in reaction, waiting for her message, her apology, her attention, the 3% man lives in direction. He trusts that if she's meant to come back, she will, but she'll return to a stronger version of the man she left. This is how he leads, with presence and not pressure. He doesn't need to demand her respect. She feels it in how he carries himself. He doesn't need to prove he's unbothered. He is unbothered because his world doesn't collapse without her. In it, the 3% man knows something most men don't. Attraction isn't built through control. It's built through contrast. She needs to feel his absence, not because he vanished, but because his energy has changed. He's lighter, calmer, focused. She feels that energy even when he's not around. He's no longer the man who chases validation. He's the man who gives validation to himself through discipline, focus, and emotional control. And ironically, that's what draws her back. Not the messages, not the waiting, not the hope, but the power she can sense in his silence. He understands that love doesn't mean losing yourself to keep her close. It means standing so firmly in who you are that she can either rise to meet you or walk away, and you'll be okay either way, because the 3% man isn't afraid of loss. He's afraid of losing himself again. And once he learns that lesson, once he becomes that man, that's when everything changes. That's when she finally feels it. The difference between the boy she left and the man who quietly outgrew her absence, it happens quietly, not in a moment of triumph, but in a moment of stillness. He's lying there staring at the ceiling in that same room that used to echo her laughter. The phone sits face down beside him as it always does. It hasn't buzzed in weeks. There's no message coming. No sudden change of heart, just silence. And for the first time, that silence doesn't sting. It feels peaceful. He realizes he's no longer counting the days since she left. He's no longer replaying that last conversation or scrolling through her photos at 2 a.m. It hits him all at once. She hasn't changed, but he has the ache in his chest that used to feel unbearable now feels like something else, something clean. It's the ache of acceptance. He gets up and looks at himself in the mirror. The face looking back isn't broken. It's tired but calm. There's a steadiness in his eyes that wasn't there before. For so long, he thought healing meant getting her back. Now he understands. Healing means getting himself back. He remembers who he was before he started chasing, before he gave his peace away just to keep her close, before he started thinking. Love meant never letting go. It's almost poetic, how she had to leave for him to finally come home to himself. He whispers to his reflection, I don't need her to see my worth anymore. I can see it. Something inside shifts. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a quiet knowing that he doesn't have to prove anything anymore. That love isn't supposed to make him smaller. That he can still love her and let her go at the same time. And in that exact moment, he stops waiting, not because he's given up hope, but because he's given up control. He understands that whatever is meant for him doesn't need to be chased. It will meet him in the calm, not the chaos. He takes a deep breath, one that feels like the first real breath in months. He walks outside, and for the first time, the air doesn't feel heavy. The world isn't tinted by loss anymore. It's open again. The sun feels different, warmer somehow. And as he stands there, the thought crosses his mind, maybe I wasn't being punished. Maybe I was being rebuilt. And that's when it clicks. She'll only come back when this happens, when he no longer needs her to, when the man she once knew becomes the man she could never forget. Not because he waited for her, but because he remembered himself. That's the turning point. The quiet rebirth of a man who finally realizes that his peace was never lost. It was just waiting for him to stop chasing what was never meant to complete him. She'll only return when you no longer reach for her from emptiness, but from the quiet strength of a man who finally found home within himself.